It was only a matter of time. Congressman Shri Thanedar of Michigan has introduced 7 articles of impeachment against Donald Trump.
Here he is explaining his reasoning.
Donald Trump has already done real damage to our democracy, but defying a unanimous 9-0 Supreme Court ruling, that has to be the final straw. It's time we impeach Donald J. Trump. The court said the wrongfully deported Kilmer Garcia must be allowed to return and receive due process. Trump ignored it. He ignored the Constitution. He ignored the very checks and balances that keep our democracy intact.
Trump responded during his rally in Michigan last night. Let's listen.
What the hell did I do? Here we go again. They want to impeach me. This lunatic. This lunatic used up. Actually, I had the television way down, and I said to our great First Lady, listen, did I just hear I was being impeached again? We're getting good at this, though. No, they've gone totally crazy.
Congressman Ted Cruz wrote on X, impressive, the third impeachment attempt is less serious than the second, which was less serious than the first. Democrats are rudderless.
Meanwhile, Executive Director for Project Liberal, Joshua Eakel, wrote, thanks for doing this, Congressman.
So here we are. This was entirely inevitable. This is going to go absolutely nowhere. We should point out Republicans control the House and the Senate. There will not be enough votes to actually impeach the president. There will not be enough votes to have a trial for him again in the Senate. This is going absolutely nowhere. This figure, who I had never heard of before, like I think most people, until he started to inject himself into the news cycle by doing this, Shri Thanedar, he's a Michigan congressman who has a kind of, I would say, colorful and controversial history. Actually, it's been alleged that by firms he consulted with before he ran for office that it was unclear whether he was going to run as a Republican or a Democrat. Mm-hmm. He actually ran for governor as well, and there's some really dicey stuff in his past. He ran this science-based company that was alleged to have done a lot of animal abuse on animals that were kept in it. So anyway, that's neither here nor there regarding the impeachment charges. What do you make of it?
Well, I think there are two sides to this. So on the one hand, the Democratic base is screaming out for voices in the Democratic Party to directly take on this president. And in theory, this is one of the ways to do it. But to your point, Robby, when you're one of 435 members of Congress and you haven't made a name for yourself, that's another thing that I'm sure that this member was thinking about. You stand out when you make this kind of a case, you know you're going to get interviews, et cetera, et cetera. So from a political strategy piece of it.
Dollar signs, Lynda. He's going to raise lots of donations. In terms of the articles of impeachment themselves, so what this is based on, he thinks it's an impeachable offense that, again, this narrative that Donald Trump is ignoring the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court order was to facilitate the return of this individual, and the Trump administration has taken the position, well, we are doing our best to facilitate his return, but that is not possible to do given that he is in another country's prison. Now, I personally, Lynda, support his return to the country, and then he should be deported elsewhere. The judge's order was that he should not be deported to El Salvador. They've admitted they got that wrong. Fine, bring him back, deport him somewhere else. I fully believe that he is a member of MS-13 and should not be in this country, but they should try to facilitate his return. They're saying they are trying to facilitate his return, but that our entire, foreign policy with another country cannot be subject, like this is not the only issue there is. So you can say they're not making a good faith effort to facilitate his return. That the idea that this is already an impeachable thing, that Donald Trump has directly ignored some court order, I just don't agree with that. I just don't see it.
Well, so that was one of the things. I mean, one of the other items for critique as part of the motion that he filed was an allegation that the president is not putting our national security interests at heart by backing Pete Hegseth, the whole Signalgate controversy of sharing classified military plans on unsecure network, those sorts of things, which I think are valid, and obviously this administration doesn't want to talk about. So those are challenges. I think the other thing is, on the point you were making, Robby, is that, I don't know who the they is, if it's the administration saying that, they are working on this. By Donald Trump's own words in an interview he did last night with ABC News, he said with one phone call, he could bring this individual back. He's just choosing not to.
In terms of the Pentagon stuff, the Hegseth stuff, look, I think Mike Walls should be held accountable for the leak. If it's something was done wrong here, again, maybe it's on Hegseth. I don't know that's on Donald Trump. I don't know that that's you hired someone who's doing not a good job. That's an impeachable offense. I mean, that would be every president should be impeached for that. By the way, maybe just every president should be impeached because they've never done.
You just want total anarchy. No more.
Well, I want our presidents, all thrown out. And actually, I would say the basis on which to impeach Donald Trump is the same basis on which Joe Biden and Barack Obama and George Bush and probably every president for the last however many years should be impeached is just usurping Congress's powers overall and powers in terms of foreign policy. What was revealed in that signal chat was that we were clearly going to war with the Houthis. That's not declared by Congress, but right. Donald Trump is not alone in that respect whatsoever. Most of our presidents, over the course of our lifetimes, Lynda, have conducted what I would argue are military, not just military exercises, but attacks, wars against foreign powers without the authorization of Congress. Congress, for whatever reason, has no interest in doing their job, no interest in claiming back the power that our founders gave them to make these kinds of determinations. So I don't know what you do with that. But the case for impeaching Trump is the case for impeaching all presidents, and that they've all usurped powers that belong to Congress.
Well, I hear what you're saying, and I don't disagree with a lot of the points that you're making there. But I think on the Pete Hegseth side of things, when you're the boss of the bosses, the buck stops with you. And if you say, essentially, it's okay by me, I mean, I told them don't use Signal anymore, but it's not a big deal, you're sending a really significant message to the American people, to the men and women who serve in our armed forces, to the entire Department of Defense writ large, that it's okay. And if you think about it, these are people who literally sit every single year on polygraphs to make sure they have access to classified materials. They have to operate under a very, very strict set of rules. And if the person who is sitting in the chair as the Secretary of Defense is not held to account, that's a problem. And that's bad for national security.
I would say the optics of this, I guess this makes everyone happy, right? The Democrats have a new resistance figure who's doing something, even if it's going to be totally, completely, wildly unsuccessful. Here's someone, to celebrate who's doing something. I think conservatives are actually salivating at they love when Trump comes under attack because they love defending him. And, this is someone who is going to speak to the conservative narrative. I am not claiming this, to be clear, but conservatives say, we're under attack by foreign forces who want to come in here and take over our elections. This is someone who was born in another country, who speaks with a heavy accent from another country. Conservatives will love the idea of Trump coming under attack by some foreign-born person. They're going to love the optics of that.
It's definitely a balance for the Democratic
that.
Party, right?
Yeah.
There's some really significant substantive debates and discussions to be had. I would argue, you've heard me argue, primarily around the economy and the numbers that we're seeing and the very real fears that economists are saying that we should have about an impending recession. Those are the things that I think most people care about. I mean, most people aren't in the bubble with you and me. I mean, how long have we been in this bubble even together here? And we're just diving into all the nitty-gritty details of this policy, that policy. Most people are not like that. They're worried about the price of eggs, they're worried about their rent, and they want to see an administration that is doing something about that. So one would argue, especially as a Democrat, that this president has failed to deliver on the thing that he promised most on the campaign trail, bringing down prices, strengthening the economy, et cetera, and yet we're distracted by certain things as Democrats making the critique.
Next up, Mark Zuckerberg is raising some eyebrows after he revealed he has an underground tunnel. Secret tunnel. You know the Secret Tunnel song? We'll discuss. That's coming up next.